Hi guys, it's Jared from Barbecue Spit Rotisseries here. Today we're going to be cooking up a bit of a feast on our new Traeger Pellet Grill. So what we're going to do is we've got a beautiful piece of chuck roast here, and then we've got some beef ribs. So I'm just going to quickly show you how we're going to prepare those. Now we're going to do that as per Traeger's cookbook here, so that comes with your pellet grill. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the chuck roast ready. So what we're going to need a good sized pan and a roasting rack. So if you don't want to spend as much money on a brisket, you could do something like this. It's got a lot of fat content in there, so it's going to break down quite nicely. This is what a lot of people use for slow cookers at their home. It shreds really well. A lot of Mexican restaurants, things use this as well because it pulls apart so nicely when it's cooked for long enough. So we're just going to pop that in our roasting tray. Next step, we're going to put some olive oil just all over the roast. Make sure that it's all covered. So the bottom, the sides, everywhere. Flip that one over. Rub it right in there. Yeah, this Traeger recipe, you can use a rub. I'm going to keep it very, very simple this time around. I'm going to use some salt and pepper, so just some coarse salt and pepper. So again, we just apply that liberally all over the roast. We're going to rub that one into the sides as well and underneath. We'll do the same for the pepper. This is just some ground pepper that we've ground up already. Then we're just going to rub that into the meat all the way around, making sure we get it all in there. Next step, we're going to put some beef stock or beef consommé in the base of the pan. It's just going to help it cook, give it some really good juices. So with this size roast, we're going to use about 500 mils of beef stock. So we just pour that in. That's just going to sit underneath the roast. And there we have it. So we're just going to set this aside, and next we're going to do the ribs. I find a pan great for when you're doing ribs, when you're seasoning them. What you can do is you can just put them in, cover them, and then any excess you can keep using to make sure that those ribs are completely covered. So here are our ribs, got plenty of meat on them, lovely bone. So we're just going to sit these in the pan, and today I'm just going to cover them in a prime rib rub. So you might have your own recipe that you like. We just use a generic rib rub. So we're going to tip that all over, we're going to make it a nice layer over the top. So we're just going to make sure that those ribs are completely coated. And the idea of the rub is to obviously give it a lot of flavour, the ribs a lot of flavour, but it's also to help protect it and keep those juices inside the meat as it's cooking. So it gives great flavour, and it's also helping us out as well. So you can use any of the excess rub from the inside of the pan, making sure that those ribs are all covered, and they're all ready to go now. So here at Barbecue Spit Rotisseries, we love to support local businesses. So Craig and the gang at Lakeview Meats will look after you very, very well. They've got a wide range of meats, absolutely delicious, and we're going to give these a go. I'm starting to get hungry. So now it's time to turn on our Traeger. Very, very simple to do. We just make sure that the pellet hopper is completely full. So here we're using oak pellets for this particular cook, but there are a wide range of flavours to suit a wide range of meats. I'm just going to make sure that everything's in the chamber, ready to go. We've even lined the grease pan with a little bit of aluminium foil to just help cleaning up a little bit later on. So when starting your Traeger, you just make sure that the lid's open, that it's powered on. We turn it to smoke, and then the moment we start to see some white smoke come out of that chamber, we can close the lid, turn it to the temperature that we want, and then when it's ready to cook, we're going to pop our meat in. Okay, we're starting to see some white smoke coming out of the chamber now. It's smelling absolutely beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut that lid. We're going to put it up to the temperature that we require. In this case, it's going to be 107 degrees Celsius. And then we're going to wait for that to get up to temperature. Okay, so now that we've got the Traeger grill to the temperature that we want, we're just going to open this up and we're going to pop our ribs in. Now the ribs are going to go in meat side up, and we'll close the lid. and we're going to smoke that for 2 hours. Okay, so next up we're going to put in a thermometer probe. So probe 1, we're just going to plug that in. We're going to feed it through here, through this little grommet. Quickly open this, and I'm just going to put that into the middle of one of our ribs. Okay, so our ribs have been sitting on smoke for about 2 hours, or just over 2 hours. Now because we're cooking that chuck roast, what we're going to need to do is we're going to get the heat of this Traeger right up. We're going to roast that roast for about half an hour, 25 minutes, half an hour. So it means that we have to take the ribs out, let them sit for a little bit in another pan. We're going to cover them all up, make sure that there's not a lot of heat escaping from them. We're going to get that roast right up to temperature, and then we're going to turn it right back down. We're going to put the ribs back in, and then we're going to cook the rest for probably 3, 4, 5 hours still to go. So we've got this Traeger unit to the highest temperature, so we're going to put our chuck roast in, and we're going to sear that until it's brown. Okay, so as you'll see now, that roast is really starting to brown. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn that temperature down. We're going to add the ribs back in, and then we're just going to let it cook for 3 or 4 hours. Just let it go, let it do its thing. Now the final thing we're going to do is we're going to put our probes back in. So we've smoked the ribs for 2 hours. They've been in there for about an hour or so on top of that. We've had the roast in for an hour or so. So now what we're going to do to speed up this cook a little bit is we're going to foil these ribs. We're going to foil the roast as well, and we're going to seal in all of that heat. So everything's been foiled up now. We've got the ribs still over here, and we've got the chuck roast over this side here. So we're going to leave that in there. We're still going to do probably about 2 more hours on the ribs here. An hour, we're going to check this in an hour to see what kind of temperature we're at. Okay, so for this last part, we're just going to cover these in some barbecue sauce. And then we're going to get the basting brush out. Make sure that they're all covered. Make them all nice and sticky. And then we're just going to put them back in for half an hour. So this is our chuck roast. Just going to cut into it. A nice thick slice. Now if we wanted to shred that beef or pull that beef, probably would have needed another 3 or so hours. But we're just going to cook a roast today. So these are our ribs. We've just taken them out of the Traeger grill. So as you can see, the meat shrunk down back off the bone. But what you'll notice on these ones, especially down the back, is that meat just pulled straight off the bone.